Hello? Hello? Is this thing on? Hi Rage, 50 streams in a row by the way, holy shit. It does not feel like it's been that long since like people have actually started having streaks of my streams. But hi, I'm here. I have a little buddy. Well, technically two little buddies. And I promise you there is no April Fools going on today. Don't look too deep into things. But yeah, it is Wednesday. Sausage. There might be something, honestly. You guys might need to just pay very close attention. It's actually pretty obvious. But what was I gonna say? I mentioned that this week I have essentially the house to myself this week, so I'm able to stream a little bit earlier without fear of random noises and interruptions. And at the same time, I have plans tonight. I have a date with 2 hot plumbers and 2 blondes, one of them platinum. And a furry, apparently. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna go to the Mario movie later tonight, so I'm streaming a little early today so I can get that out of the way and, you know, enjoy the rest of my night. So I'm kind of excited. Nobody fucking spoil anything. I swear to God, if people actually show up and spoil, I'm gonna actually probably time you out for the whole day. Don't risk it. Even fake ones. But yeah, how have you been, Rach? How's your week been? I just worked this week, honestly. I've been kind of tired. I think my back's giving me problems again, and I just need to like relax. I need to chill. I know Mario's in the Mario Kart movie. Fuck. Spoilers. It's funny because I was watching a friend stream earlier, and they were like, "Nobody fucking spoil the movie now!" And then the next message after like 30 seconds was like, "Oh, by the way, if you go watch it, stay for the credits, for the post-credit scenes. There's more than one." And I'm like, bro, you just said don't spoil it, and you fucking spoiled it yourself. Like, yes, it's good to know that there's multiple post-credit scenes, but that's also something that the person going to watch it figures out themselves if they want to stick around or not. So like, pissed me off, honestly. But anyway, I'm still excited to go watch it. How have I been? Honestly, a little bit empty inside. Let me be real. I've had some things happen this year that just are still kind of just not like happening, but just like fresh in my mind, and I'm just trying to get over it. But it's kind of hard. It be what it be, you know. Meh. Oh, my shoulders. Thank you. But what else? Thank you. What was I gonna say? You know, life goes on. It just takes doing, basically. But also I have gotten like fucking 6 followers since I was offline. I don't know where the hell you guys came from, but let me thank you guys. Demon and Ganesh, I think that was last stream on Friday. X Abyss, Derisir, The Bagon's Dream, and Maguro, welcome in, you guys. Thanks for the follows. If you're here, feel free to say hi. You don't have to. Besides that, I'm just gonna play some Pokopia for like, I don't know, 2 maybe 3 hours. It depends how much I feel like. I have a feeling today's gonna be a quiet day on stream because I'm streaming earlier than usual, and that's okay. Hi Dagon, welcome in. Hi. So like, I don't. It's okay. I understand. So we'll see how today goes. Maybe tomorrow I'll stream a little bit later, kind of closer to my usual time. Because honestly, I don't know if I like streaming at this time. Like, so many people have streams around this time, and like, at least Pacific time, not East. Obviously, for Eastern is like 3 hours for me from now. But it's like, it just feels like your day just fucking gets wasted if you stream this early. Like, to me at least, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I stream like 4 or 5 hours and like it's not like a career hobby if you think about it that way. Right? Like, I just stream for fun. Some people stream as a career or as a career hobby, as in like they want to make it a career, but it's still technically in the hobby phase. So like, I guess I just don't get that part just yet. But we will rock you. Let me move over here. Let me get into position for you guys. Hang on. Sorry, I'm trying not to ruin my little Bagon buddy. Okay. And we stopped the music because I honestly, I've been in love with Shantae music recently. People have brought up that like Shantae is like one of the many franchises that people what's the word, sexify when the character themselves is not as sexy. And I'm like, motherfucker, like all the Shantae characters and Shantae themselves are like peak sexy. Y'all don't know. Anyway, I did a little bit, as in like almost nothing, in Pokopia this week. I've just been busy working and taking care of the house because I have to do all like the gardening, all the yard work and stuff all on my own. So I haven't done much at all. But apparently there was, should I say, a April Fool's event today. I did it by accident, and it gave me this. It gave me the wacky, wavy, inflatable arm flailing Sudowoodo. Right? Hold on, can I camouflage into this? Huh? Hang on. Yeah. Have you seen the hips? Have you seen the hips on all the characters, not just Shantae? Anyway, yeah, we got this for April Fools. I think it's kind of funny. Anyway, I did a little bit already today of like the daily stuff. What I'm missing is Island Journey, just to try and see if I can find another legendary. And otherwise, I'm still trying to get this place to level 9, which I think if I get this guy health happier, it'll be ready. Decoration, lots of fire. Look, that way I'm a little busy, sorry. Bye. Oh, what's up? Oh yeah, the whole gimmick behind the event for April Fools is every Pokemon randomly starts acting like a different Pokemon, and you have to guess based on how they're talking, who they are. It's not clear too. Is the best place to do physical training. Want to join me? Let's train together. Who is that? That's training. Has to be my champ. Yeah. And if you do it 3 times, you get that dude. Also, let me know how the audio is. It sounds a little loud on my end, but if it's okay, just let me know. Wait, I don't want to talk to these guys with the ... dots because they're all just the part of the what's the word? The event. I need to make a decoration with fire. Does a campfire count? Also, what? What's up? Oh, this does count. Fire pit. Okay, so fire pit works. Did I change my eyes? No, they're the same as they've always been. I have made absolutely 0 changes to my model. Now again, it could be something on stream that's different, but my model itself has not changed. Fight it! Yes! Are you one of the few people that actually remember what my eye color is? How's your comfort level? Hell yeah. What about Murkrow? What does Murkrow want? Where is he? Kumo changed? No, he's just on a different shoulder. I have a toggle for a Kumo that talks, doesn't talk, and on both shoulders. So like that. Not at all. Maybe I just wanted the Gumi to be on my left shoulder, or right, if you're looking at it from here. Also, hi Ruby. That's fine. Thank you. What was it? Decoration wood? What did you want again? Might have cheated, look back at a previous VOD. Rage, how dare you? Were you like being what's it called? Mandela affected essentially? And you were like, no, wait, who's here? Did somebody spawn? Did a Pokemon spawn? Or is it because of the fire pit? No. Ow! What the fuck? Why aren't the tits working? It's not connected, I'm sorry. How did what leveled up? How did we level up? Oh yeah, we got Machamp today. He's right here. Thank you. What's up? My eyes changed colors. They did not. They did not. They are the exact colors they should be. Fine, you caught me. I changed the color of my eyes, which is actually impossible to do, by the way. I've tried that before, and it's not possible, so no, I have not changed the color of my eyes. The reason I say that is just the way they're layered, I guess. They're like they're split. I can't do it easily, at least. Alright, level 9, this is what I wanted. Say flip the colors again, yeah, not possible, so. Nuh-uh. That's what I wanted. A punching game. And then... Is that luxury, what? Luxury chair, I didn't want that, I want that. Oh my god, I did level 10, are you fucking serious, bro? Oh my god. How close am I? Not close at all. I need to make the punching game thing. How do I make it? Where is it? Where is it? This? I need an arcade machine and a chair. I think I have an arcade machine on, maybe not on me, but at least somewhere. Oh, I have it right here. Okay, I need a chair now. Ekans, you're stuck. That's what I was looking at right now. Chair. Just a normal chair. Are you suggesting that I happen to, what's the word? What is the word? That I have flipped my entire model? Are you saying I'm that sophisticated? Wait, what do they gotta say to each other? Little brother and big brother. Great. Yo, you have such a good sound, Krigatoo, and it really like pulls at my heartstrings and stuff. What's a secret to making such a pretty sound? Good question. First, let me hear your sound. Me. I don't know, yo, just sounds like it likes a bit of punch or something. What's wrong with that? Sounds cute to me. Don't make fun of my sound. It's a super serious issue, yo. I didn't mean it like that. See, I can't make that sound anymore. Kind of jealous. Aw, it's actually really sweet. You're jealous of me? Guess the grass is always greener, huh? It's pretty fun thinking around making your own tune. Can't make a certain sound, try to work around it, and keep striving to produce one you do want. Oh, that's a good way to think about it. That's a very sweet explanation. Also, where the hell am I gonna put this freaking arcade machine at? I have 0 space. Carco, what are you doing up there? God, where the hell do I put this? I guess I know where to put it, actually. To be honest, I noticed the eyes being different, not the entire model. You might be missing a very obvious detail then. There's that, and the punching game. And then the chair, the beauty mark. That's one of the 2 obvious details. Where's my chair at? Oh, I had 2 of them already. Oh, they need to be lit up. I can fix that. Which is like this. Pecunia, hi. Neat. Yeah, it is neat. There we go. Hi. There we go. Yeah, they need to be powered on. Then this should give me Magneton or Magnezone, one of the 2. And apparently this gives me the final power-up in this game. Oh my god, I can actually punch it. It doesn't break, and that's really funny, actually. Wait, is it random? That's Cutie Pie doing good. How are you doing? How's the move? There we go. Anyway, next up I need a Clefairy, I think. I'm trying to look for a legendary. And it was Arcanine, Clefairy, Pikachu, I think, for the plushies. Let's bring out the Clefairy. I was like, you notice anything different? I'm asking everybody this. Is there a difference? Is there any April Fooling going on? People have noticed the eyes and the beauty mark, which are in the same spots. I'm gonna tell you guys now, I am not gaslighting you. I want to go to a dream island. Ooh, limestone, that's actually nice. Limestone and copper. I don't really need copper all that much, do I? The white outline? No, I usually try to put that on because I feel like it adds a good pop. Gumi's there. Yeah, he's new. I found it on Twitter from somebody, I believe it's called Sana VT. Giving them proper credit. That is different. That's not what I mean though. Anyway, if you guys wanted the obvious outcome, the outfit is also wrong. But how would you know if you don't have every detail of mine memorized? Is my model flip? Maybe. I'm not saying yes or no. Maybe. What am I doing? Oh yeah, Pokedex. Then we go unknown. Then we go in this area only. Nobody's in here, that sucks. Wait, I want to take off that unknown filter. I'll flip you. Shit, okay, I'm in. Oh, I wait, this is gonna give me trees. Oh, please. Honestly, when you said it'll flip you, it reminded me of if this is dating me as being an old person, right? Like, I know I'm only 32, but I'm still an old person compared to a lot of people on the internet, apparently. There you go, the heart's the important one. You got it. And yeah, the eyes are also a pretty obvious giveaway. But when you said I'll flip you, it just reminded me of fucking Rush Hour 2. A very early scene when Jackie and Chris Tucker are in the spa, and Jackie gets knocked on his belly, and he just looks back and was like, "Flip me!" He's like, "Ah!" He's like, "Flip me!" He literally, like, you know, lifts his legs like a table and makes him do like a front flip to stand up. And again, I love these movies, so I just fucking remember this shit. Sorry, I'm old. I love me some Jackie Chan movies. You're so cute. Oh my god, shut up. No, I'm not. Anybody would reference things that they know. That's not cute. That's just really 6 years older than me. Well, you guys better fucking know Rush Hour then. This is weird. Why does seawater spread like that? That's interesting. Also, 6 years is a pretty long time on the internet. You know Rush Hour? You should. Movies are very racist, but also very good. Many movies from the early 2000s are very, what would people would consider offensive these days. Doesn't mean it's not funny and it's not a lot of fun to me. Fluff. Is there anything here that I want? Also fine, yeah, cat's out of the bag. My model's flipped here. I can show you what it looks like without it. Hang on, it's a literal setting I can just do on YouTube Studio, by the way. Where is it at? Wait. Back to normal. Wait. What you guys have now? Wait. Normal. Wait. Wait. Fucking instant transmission up in here. Sorry, I'm a giant fucking nerd. No way. Also, I don't know about you guys, my fucking Twitch chat's broken today because apparently the 7TV, I think, the April Fool's update is just broke chat compatibility with Franker Phase Z control panel. I'm like, man, that's kind of bullshit. Kind of annoying, but I mean, it's fine. I can't remember what flowers I need to. I might need to grab these flowers for Pallet Town. I might pick them up just to be safe. Oh. That explains why I cannot see it all day or speak. Yes. Yeah, if you're using both Franker Phase Z and 7TV, having both activated just for some reason kills your Twitch chat. Like, it load, like, you'll see it load, but then it'll just turn into like a black bar. And you can fix it by turning off one or the other. And people say apparently you just need to turn off the April Fool's like effects, and you can do that from, you know, I think it's the Franker Face like panel thing on the top of the screen, but it doesn't actually work. At least not for me. So yeah, hopefully they fix it today, like before, like after the day's over. Yeah, they added Comic Sans. I think they added like the troll face emote as like a 7TV emote or something. I don't know. Also, for wondering what I'm doing, I don't know either. I'm like blanking and I'm just looking at chat half the time. So if you guys want to talk, like just say something. I would love to talk. I mentioned earlier when it was just a couple people in here, but I've been feeling kind of empty inside recently. Like not in like a bad way, just in like a I feel kind of lonely way. And nothing's really getting rid of it. So like I've kind of just been suffering. I've been suffering while trying to help like the people that matter to me, and you know that's never fun. You'll be like, can you get some dinner fixed? Yeah, don't worry about it. Like you're gonna have to just turn off one or the other and suffer without one of the features, or just somehow like use like mobile chat or something. Which was not great. Get left on, shut up. You know, I'm just not necessarily even having the greatest mental time. And there's nothing anybody can really help with, I feel like, because I do have people that I talk to, but they don't really matter, I guess. If you can think of it that way. So there's only raspberries here, which kind of sucks. I wanted a different tree. Anyway, where's the nearest cave? Let's start digging. What do we got? Oh, it's just copper, huh? Fuck. This is not a cave. Oh, it's this way. More ice, but apparently Suikun's not here. Like, I checked the Pokedex. Also, I don't know about you guys, but like, anytime I look on Twitter and I see people fucking doing like, they're building the Mona Lisa essentially in this game, it really just pisses me off, because I'm like, man, you're just making this game not fun for anybody else, because everybody's gonna see these great things people are making and be like, man, what the fuck? Why can't I make this shit? And then they give up. Like, that's not what's gonna happen to me. Like, I'll keep playing the game. It's just there's so many people that are like, man, this sucks. I could never make something like this. And I understand what they want. Or what they mean, I mean. But that's kind of how I felt about Animal Crossing back in the day. Like, it was just kind of a pain in the ass seeing people seeing people like make these like great builds, and mine is just like the most basic fucking thing in the world. Oh, this is nice. It's just crystals. Limestone for more seeds. Honestly, we're done after this. Oh, it's ice. I thought this was crystal. As in Pokemon crystal. Also, hold on. Did I miss somebody's message? Give me a second while the ads are rolling. I did miss somebody. Thunderbird, hi. I don't know if I said hi. If I didn't, I'm so sorry, actually. How do I get out? Oh, this way. Anyway. Hey, it's hilarious. I am on early. I mentioned this the other day, last week, but I have the capabilities to stream a little early this week without worrying about lack of privacy or like hearing children around, because I dislike just having random like high-pitched screams going around, you know. That's just me. Like, I'm sure people don't mind, because obviously, yeah, everybody's living situation is different. That's just something I try to avoid. That's why I stream a little later. But this week I can stream a little earlier. And at the same time, I also use this as an excuse to make a little girls' night out, if you will, on my own. But you know, same thing. Where I'm gonna go watch the Mario movie later tonight. Not like right after I stop streaming, but pretty close to nighttime. I ended up deciding not to do 3D, just because like I have glasses and I need glasses to see. It's not like oh like I can take off my glasses and still see fairly well. Like I need my glasses to see. Like I could probably watch a movie in like a giant theater and be fine, but like I'd rather not like miss any of the like the random Easter eggs are going to be in the background like in the first one, I'm assuming. And you know, 3D usually requires 3D glasses. I wish there was 3D that didn't require 3D glasses, but at the same time, that did exist before, and it was on the 3DS, and it gave most people headaches. It didn't give me headaches, but it gave a lot of people headaches. Alright, anybody spawn yet? Yes! Either Magneton or Magnezone is here. Please, 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 please. Magneton, hello. Greetings. I do look like, or yeah, just 3 Magnemites sticking together. Yes. Well, we are just sticking together. Yes. Actually, it requires much skill to work together as 3. So I think we too can be good friends. We and you. This Pokemon is 3 Magnemite that I've linked together. Magneton sends out powerful radio waves to study its surroundings. You know what's funny? A lot of people complain back in Gen 5 about Clink Clang, like Clink Clang and Clink Clang just being 1 Clink, 2 Clinks, and then like 4 or 5 Clinks put together. And here's an example of they've done this shit before. Don't think it's bad because it's in a 5th generation game. It happened in the first gen. Magneton is a cool design, but it's still just 3 of the same thing linked together. Oh, you spawn in Trash Can Central? Oh shit, that's good to know. Also, yes, I hope the movie goes good. Apparently, it has like a 45 on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is funny, because I guarantee you it's from critics who have zero idea about what goes into the Mario universe. So it's probably going to be fun, but it pissed off the critics because it's not a good movie. It doesn't have like this deep functional like thinker storyline. Like I don't fucking care. It's fucking Mario. As long as it goes yippee wahoo and Yoshi goes Yoshi, I'm okay. You want decoration? Oh, am I wrong? I might be wrong. Alright, anyway. Supposedly Magneton does things, but I guess he's not active yet. Maybe it's like an endgame thing. Also, Marowak's here. Anyway, let's go finish up the quote-unquote story is my guess. So yeah. Bye. That must be post-game stuff. Also, did you guys just read that Jumpluff Pokedex entry? Because it literally says it flies in the wind until its cotton spores run out, and when its cotton spores run out, so does its life. Like Jumpluff fucking dies when it runs out of cotton spores. That's kind of crazy. There's so many Pokemon that just die. Yeah, I mean, it was in the first season of the anime. Charmander just fucking dies if his tail goes out. There's that. There's probably a bunch of others that I'm not thinking of. I mean, the one that's obvious is quite literally but Ninjask, right? Ninjask technically dies, and that's what becomes Shedinja. I know it's supposed to be like Carapace, but you can think of it the same way, right? Right, because it's Carapace is the same thing. It's shell that's been possessed by a ghost. Yes, boink, if it starts bouncing, its heart stops. Yeah, there's things like that. What else is there? I'm trying to think of like obvious ones. I am trying to think. What other obvious ones that it literally says like this thing will fucking die if it stops doing this? I think those are like the obvious ones, but people on this. Yeah, I mean the Pokedex entry in here says the same thing. Like it wears the skull of its dead mother. And when we met Cubone, I don't know if you were here for that, when we met Cubone, I think it was on Friday. Like he was just like being very happy, like, oh my god, we can be, you know, let's be friends. I would love to live here with you. The very last line that he said was, I wish my mom could be here to see this. It's fucking sad. Yamask is dead. Yeah, isn't Yamask like the actual the mask is like not possessed, but like it's a spirit? Yeah, it's a really sad thing. It literally just happened in the fucking game. It's a person's face. Is that what it is? Anyway, let's finish up this story. I need a photo. Which photo do I get rid of? You kind of want to get rid of one of these. I'll use this one. It's Lugia's ass with me going. Craggle. Satisfied with your photo, right? In that case, you finally finished the entire team initiating challenge. Something tells me this photo is what's being uploaded to like the internet of like, this is how this person finished the game. This is their memory. Here's your final reward. It's the Earth Badge, quote unquote. That reminds me, what is the Earth Badge supposed to be? It looks like a fucking feather. Why is it called the Earth Badge? You've completed the initiation challenge. Alright, with that, you're now truly one of us. This calls for a party. A celebration, a welcome party. Over the food and recreation started. Can you prepare some party poppers? I think I literally have the recipe for that. 2 of them? Not sure. You know that party poppers are your job? Come on, don't sweat the small stuff. Wouldn't feel like a party without them, would it? First job, you never get some party poppers. Okay. I guess a lot of like the old badges don't really look like what they're supposed to, right? Doesn't the marsh badge just look fucking weird? It doesn't look like what's supposed to be a marsh, right? I mean, if you want to talk about fucked up Pokemon entries, like most ghost entries are kind of fucked up. Where are my badges? Where do I leave them? Is it this box? It is this box. And I have 2 party poppers. Perfect. I have so much shit. I just need to drop off somewhere. Oh, we have a box over there. Oh, what's up? Hi. These are the good things happen to spend time with you. This is, you know, say thanks. Is it more vines? Oh, ooh, it's mushrooms. Oh my god, this motherfucker giving me mushrooms. Yeah, Drifloon literally is like the spirited away demon. Like when a kid grabs his handles, he whisks them away to the afterlife. Like I think that's literally what the lore says. party poppers. Is this it? Are we done? Cutscene time? The delivery hatch is completely full. What? We're in the middle of the party poppers, excuse me? Hello, Rim. What's up, Professor? What ya? Oh my god. It's for us two to just go pah! Just gonna get this building off my mind, so I came to investigate a bit more. Also, do you guys hear the music? What is this supposed to be? I can't remember. Do-do-do-do, the Hall of Fame music. OG called Hall of Fame music. So how cozy? You know anything about the building? Listen, I'm really good at memorizing music for Pokemon, so like don't tempt me with realizing what a song's a remix of. The party poppers won't fit? Oh, Rin. Party poppers are no good if you just shut them away. Let me show you how to use them. First, you grab this string tight to get ready, and pull the strings, and go. Okay. Now what does this do? Emergency. Emergency. We may be under attack. Uh-oh. We shot a gun, and this thing thinks it's a gun. Or we shot poppers, and they think it's a gun. Did I do something wrong? There. Hush now. Initiating emergency evacuation protocol. 3, 2, 1, 0. What the fuck? Blast off! Looks like Team Rocket's blasting off again! Like, I'm just like... Whereas Tangle's like... I think we're done with the story. Why is the rocket suddenly pink? That does not look like a rocket. That looks like something else. This should have been a Freaky Friday stream. Lewd, pretty lewd. Oh, look at Dragonite sleeping up there. I fucking love how they have Dragonite sleeping. And it's gone. That whole building just flew away? I don't suppose I did something I shouldn't have. I think you're good. When the batteries in the thing explode, that's funny. Oh god. But you know, there's just one more surprise. I've witnessed wonder after wonder since I first met you. Your house is just like the human dudes and brightened up a whole town with electricity. Now the party where everyone started up a huge machine. Thanks to you, we Pokemon have gone pretty skilled at acting more like humans. But to think a building as big as that could fly up that high, humans really can do incredible things. Do you suppose there's any chance that humans are seeing that building out there somewhere? Maybe that's gonna give them the sign to that, like, somebody's living down there. Go, Pink Doodle Rocket, go. Wait, is this actually the end of the story? Oh my god, it's actually the end of the game, or the end of the story, not the end of the game. Alright, I'm gonna pay attention to this because I feel like something's gonna happen in this, like, ending credits. Anyway, the story was kind of whatever, right? Because it was just go to new area, build things. But, like, the fact that every Pokemon has such unique personalities, I think that's great. Now it doesn't look like a pink toy. Team Rocket blasted off again. I said it! You stole my life! Yes, Team Rocket blasted off again. Jupiter, Molten. You know all about nature, but it's weird to actually see them act out, doesn't it? Yeah, exactly. And like the fact that this is technically not even a first party Pokemon game. Like this was apparently mainly produced outside of Game Freak, but obviously not entirely. It goes to show that a lot of love went into realizing what Pokemon like talk about, especially what's on the ship. I mean, all the things that we put on there, like food, fluff, paper, furniture, our photo, so the humans are seeing like the photo that I put in. I'm assuming like this is probably gonna reach the humans. But yeah, like the whole Team Rocket challenge, like we were putting in things. It was like food and stuff. How far from Earth are they? That looks like Jupiter. Like it's huge. That's my assumption. As for where they actually are, I don't think I would know that. I don't think anybody would know that. That's a cool looking comet. That might be like Halley's Comet, supposedly, potentially, if it's Earth. It's getting brighter, by the way. I like how this looks. Also, this kind of makes me want to play Paper Mario. Like, this specific cutscene makes me want to play Paper Mario. Maybe Palkia would know. Maybe Palkia would know. I forget if I still don't know what legendaries are and are not in this game. Maybe Palkia would know if Palkia is in here. Maybe Palkia is not in here specifically to not have people be like, wouldn't Palkia know where the humans are? Is it gonna explode? Don't tell me it explodes. Please tell me it reaches. This is the first Pokemon that feels like it was made with loving care. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not the first game in a while. It's the first one on the Switch 2, I think, that feels like it was, or not the Switch 2, but the Switch era. That feels like it reached them. Hang on, shut up. Nobody talk. This must be my human. That's why the little plushie's there. Gasp. Metal Gear Solid.exe or .wav or .mp4, one of the two. .mp4 is probably better. That rocket's tiny because that human's like getting in there. I think it's just perspective, but like the rocket looks tiny in this perspective. That's my human. It's my human. Okay, anyway. As I was saying, I don't think it's the first Pokemon game in a long time that feels like it's made with love and care. I think it's the first one on the Switch era that was made with love and care, or feels like it was. And the reason I say that is because I feel like the actual Pokemon series has fallen in a bit of a rut, and by that I mean the Pokemon Company. The Pokemon Company has kind of put Game Freak in a shitty position by forcing them on a certain time cycle, because it feels like they don't have the time to make their games because they have to essentially get them out to get the merch rolling, basically. So it's like a couple-year cycle. Whereas if you think of like Mario or Zelda, their other, Nintendo's other like flagship franchises, those things, when they come out, they come out. They never like rush them. And I think that's the main difference between a Nintendo franchise like Pokemon and one like Mario or Zelda. They got my photo? Yeah, exactly. They got my photo, so they know I'm here. So like, considering this game was not a main series game, it probably got the time that it needed, realistically. And even if it didn't, Koei Tecmo's a really fucking good team, apparently, and however long they needed, they got it done. So like, but again, remember this game follows the trend of, I think, if I could be wrong because I haven't played all of them, but Pokemon spin-off games being the actual GOATs. Like, I'm pretty sure I have not heard of a Pokemon spin-off game that is not like highly regarded. Maybe not at the time of release, but absolutely highly regarded. Picked up a tablet. What's it for? Okay. Assuming someone actually does complete my mission for me by getting food and furniture and all that stockpiled up, what should I do if they actually want to join our organization? I don't know if any super serious do-gooders would want to join Team Rocket. I'm not going to say Team R because we know it's Team Rocket. But if they do ask to join, I guess we could let them. Might not be so bad. I bet everybody would be real surprised if they found out Team Rocket built a rocket to evacuate to outer space all by ourselves. We even have more than enough fuel to make it back to the planet easily after the environment's calmed down a bit. The boss's plan is absolutely perfect. Imagine Team Rocket planning for the return trip and the humans not. The boss says that the scale of the plan is to get all humans, or that the scale of the plan to get all humans into outer space at once is just too large. He said that if anything goes seriously wrong, the others might not have enough fuel to get back. Maybe we could share some of our extra fuel with them if that happens. Then maybe people would think, oh, Team Rocket's actually so nice. And we'd get more people wanting to join up. Either way, I bet we can make much money from it when all the time comes. That's cool. Humans really could do the most incredible things. They didn't just build a big building like that. They even made it fly up into the sky. Our biggest hit may have blasted off, get it, and flown away, but as I watched it go, I couldn't help but think. Somewhere, somehow, humans will see that building. I'm sure of it. And then they'll come back here. I truly believe that. So until that day arrives, let's work together with the other Pokemon here to make even nicer places to live. So that humans will be gobsmacked to see what they're coming home to. Let's keep it up, Bryn. Okay. Also, there's an opening down there that I can absolutely... It's kind of crazy how the team initiation challenge seemed like a side quest, but ended up being the main quest. Hang on, how does that frame look? Memories. Hell yeah, that's a nice frame. Oh, there's Magnemite. Okay, so this is where the post-game stuff happens. But hello. The open sky, fresh air, the Pokemon. It has been a time since I saw them all. Hello, hello. Will you be a friend of mine? Let us talk together. You got a friend in me. The electromagnetic waves emitted by the units at its sides of its head expel anti-gravity, which allows it to float. Did we know that about Magnemite? Where did it go? Hello, hello. There was a big building above here. Why is it gone? It blasted off again. It flew into the sky. It is difficult to believe. Incredible, the humans were making a thing of amazement. I now understand. Those humans? What humans? There were many humans. They looked sketchy. They did things around the building. Oh, Team Rocket. Nah, they came over, you can do anything? Yeah, pretty much. Which I think doesn't really matter too much because I was already kind of doing whatever. I think the only thing that's changing from what I understand is Magnemite's going to give me a power that's going to allow building a lot faster. One day they disappeared. I went inside to investigate, but I was unable to exit. I could not exit and had no things to do, so I slept. How long did I sleep? I do not know. When I woke, I was here. When the building flew, maybe I fell out. Oh. The building was a comfortable place for sleeping. It would have been a good home. This is unfortunate. I can build you a new one. Do you make a home that is like the building? Is it a possibility? But if so, I'd like that a large amount. Something like this. Oh, damn! I think I have all these things, surprisingly, except for the control unit. I count on you. Can I do anything different? Okay, that's fine. I need the control unit, which will for sure be in here. There's no way that it will not. A lot of iron ore though, this is great. Oh, what the hell? Got a Pokemon gym in here? Oh, it's Team Rocket's. Oh, it's Team Rocket's base. Wait, didn't I need this frame for something? I have one of those frames, but didn't I need it for something? I think I already have this hint. Surprise it. Oh no, I might have been Dracloak, not Dragapult. I needed this. But I forget what I needed it for. I think it was specifically just like a Team Rocket hideout looking habitat. Where is it? Here it is. I need a luxury sofa, which I don't know if I can find anywhere. Potted plants, I think I have. I can literally make those, I'm pretty sure. This has to be Persian, by the way, because I mean, if it's a Team Rocket HQ, like what other Pokemon can it be than Persian? Oh. Oh, hell yeah, Rocket had that music. What is this wall called, by the way? Neon flooring, gotcha. Okay, I need to find that thing still. The control unit. Oh god, where could I might have to buy one, I just don't know what fucking area. I don't think I can make a control unit. I think I have to buy it. I just don't know where. Worst case, I go to the Skylands, which has like a Team Rocket hideout, and look for it. I'm assuming I can't make it, but I might as well double check. That's a mini bookcase, which I do need, or a magazine rack. I can make a luxury sofa, that's great. Okay, so we can't make it. Let's see if we can buy it. Not the cords. I know I have cords somewhere. Oh, Pokemon. Give me this shit. It is a control panel. Where are you? Where you at? Where you at? You don't exist. Not here anyway. Speaking of, I kind of want to go to Pallet Town and do some things over there. I love how once you get a place to, I think it's environmental 5, it sounds like you unlock actual background music instead of just like ambience, which I'm sure some people prefer the ambience, but I kind of like having at least some music. What up? Also, welcome back from the ads, everybody. I can't grab anything. Out of space. Need to put some things away. That's what I need to do. Should I? I can put you away. That's fine. What else? Put this away. Put some logs away. I basically want to fill up every, what's the word? Every bench, as much as I can to at least be able to build anything I need, in general. Okay. Which flowers? I did need the flowers that I picked up. That's great. Wait, I didn't. Where did I put the elegant flowers at? Where are, oh, they're over there. Shit. You know what's funny? This music reminds me, like, this is the music that reminds me most of like an Animal Crossing soundtrack. Skyland and Mountain. I have Mountain, right? Those are wildflowers. Those are Skyland. I don't think I have mountain flowers, actually. Oh, shit. That's great. Maybe I do? I have mountain flowers somewhere. I'm trying to keep everything together so I know what I do and don't have. Or is it specifically they have to grow? White Skylands right there. Pink wildflower there. I wish I knew which flowers I was missing, like legitimately. Rowlet, where are you? Please grow this, thank you. Ah, okay, that does count. So I do need the purple mountain flowers then. I only have the blue ones. So I think I need blue mountain and white of these, I think. Level 5. Oh shit, I can get another evolution here. Hang on, can Vikable chop? I think Vikable can chop, right? Munchlax. I just guessed. Can you make me some lumber? You can make me some lumber. Make me 30 for now. Bye, buddy. Thank you. Next up will be... I got sandwiches, so which evolution does this give me? Is this one? Gives me Leafeon. Cool. Seat, table, sandwiches. What do you want, Mime Jr.? We'll give him the chic table. I don't know why. Leafeon feels like they'd be very chic. Ew, that's an ugly chair, but let's make it at least. I have to recolor it, let me be honest. How do you change color of these things? How do I change colors? I already forget. Anyway. Leafeon, you want to be honestly out in the forest. Get your ass over here. Wait. No, turn it. There you go. Oh, it's a big ass table. I'm sorry. You fix this? Oh, it's just not gonna be centered. That sucks. That's fine. Sandwiches. This table's too big for the chairs. Kind of a pain in the ass, honestly. Cool. So we got Leafeon now. What else do I need? I need electricity. Electricity and flowers. Is that it? Oh, and just building things. Oh, just building things? Okay. Oh, making roads too. Oh, God. Oh, my God. There's so much left. Oh, my God. There's so much left. Make these things too? That's actually fine. Alright, I need a forge. Not a forge. A furnace. Okay, so I have this I can make now. That's good. Need a furnace because a furnace gives a lot of power. I might need 2 things, but I'll stick with just 1 for now. I might have to use like a water wheel somewhere. Where will we put the furnace? I kind of want to keep it all in this centralized area for now. And then worst case, just move it around. I guess we can just keep it next to the Pokemon Center. How does it look? Actually looks nice. Who's here? Ho-Oh? Lugia. I just couldn't hear them right. Give it my all. That's my junior. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Should only take about 30 minutes. What time is it? I don't want to miss my movie. We got time. Drop your feather already. Oh God. How did I miss? I don't know. Alright, I need to make, like, what's it, 10 lifts? I don't think I have enough Tinky Gears for that, do I? I do, actually. I don't have enough iron. Oh, Sister Honey. Hello. Welcome in. How are you doing? I need iron ingots. That's fine. I can make it. Look, that'll be fine. We can play. Look that. Wait, I got you. You think he's gonna go for 2 for 2? You think he's gonna try to psych me out? Doing pretty well. That's good. Fuck, you got me. Oh, now it's a 50-50. Yep, I figured he's gonna go back and forth. Oh wait, does this have the iron that I think I put some iron away, didn't I? Oh, we're fucking... Oh, I'm goated. I'm actually goated with the sauce. Oh, Leafeon's here. That was quick. Hi, buddy. Hi, it's great to meet you. Seems like a pretty comfy place to live. So what is it that you do around here? Huh. You really different habitats all around to see all the different kinds of Pokemon? That's so cool. If everyone gets a home, that's just perfect for them. Do you think they might stop squabbling over territory? That would be even cooler. Just remember, guys, Frieza might be a good villain, but his brother will always be a little cooler. Sorry, that's a really bad Dragon Ball joke. Still so much stuff to do and amplify my skills. I just finished the story today, so you are not going to miss much if you're looking for that. But I'm apparently missing one skill, from what I understand. There's so much in this game. I hope you're not feeling overwhelmed, because it can be a little overwhelming. When you see Leafy asleep in the patch of sunshine, you'll know it's using photosynthesis to produce clean air. But yeah, if you haven't done this area, don't do this area until you beat the game, because it even tells you, don't do this until you have more skills. It's trying to tell you that, but you can still do this, it's fine. But yeah, this is absolutely a post-game area because you kind of have to have, certain things. What's going on here? Eevee's friends, oh, okay. I like this. Sorry, I like taking photos of people. Sort of overwhelming. Oops, I'm at 30. No, it's fine. It's overwhelming because it's just like, hey. I mean, it literally tells you this place is open. You do whatever the fuck you want. It just tells you, hey, you shouldn't come in here until you have more experience, essentially, with the game. That's so cute, actually. Like, it does tell you, like, hey, don't do this until you're ready, like, you feel ready for it. And it's true, there's a lot to do. But, like, if you just take it one step at a time, like, I unlocked this, like, I think before I unlocked the Skylands, if you've been there. If not, don't worry about it. And I've kind of just been every now and then coming back, like, oh, I have this item. I can make this habitat for this area now. And just putting it down. Like, I have all of these challenges left to do, like these 5, and I haven't really finished anything. Yeah, like, just take it at your own pace. Like, this, as much as you might see people online, like, building the fucking, like, the Sistine Chapel in Pokopia, like, just take it at your own pace. I think I just need 10, technically. Because I just need... They basically want me to connect the island, which it says 5, right? Yeah. It says only 5 lifts, but something tells me I need 10 because I'm gonna have to connect them. So what's gonna be a good spot to put it at? Probably here? This looks like a really good area to put it down on. Where's my lifts at? There you are. I think I'll have to move your Pokemon here. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Will this work? And that's also one reason why I'm basically saying you should do this post-game, because if you want to move your favorite Pokemon here, you might they might only spawn post-game or something, I don't know. Or you might not be able to get them until later, I don't know. Will this work the way I want it to? My Eevee is there, yeah. Okay, this works. I just need to fill this out a little better. Make that shit look nice. I also need some water. I think you could probably move Eevee out, is my assumption. Actually, maybe you can, because it's like it's a story quote unquote Pokemon. There we go. Oh yeah, so I do need 10 of them to connect them. I need water. I need water. I need some water. Can anybody find me some water? They want to come with me? Yeah, so they're probably stuck in here. Maybe until you beat like not beat, but pass the storyline to get all the EVs. Like maybe once you do that, you can move them. Obviously, I'm not close, so I don't actually know the answer to that. Can I suck this up without killing the water? Actually, I don't want to do that. Seawater doesn't function the same way as pond water does. You might be wondering what I'm trying to do. The answer is I'm trying to water the entire ground over there. Technically, you have 3 guts open. Yeah, so you're missing one area, which means you're missing. I think you're missing those lifts. What's up? Yeah, I think technically you're missing those lifts. If I'm correct in how many gates you have open. Can I... Here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to take the lift. Can I do that? Can I do that while water pregnant? For like, for a way to put it. No, I cannot. You can open now, having gone through it. Yeah, you should go through this. There's no reason not to. I think I have water in my inventory thinking about it. Like water. Yeah, just fresh water. Honestly, the final area is kind of like big, so you should absolutely go do it. Because you also learn some cool abilities over there. Want to fix another section first? Yeah, it's fine. Alright, I have fresh water. Let's just drink it. This does not go out the way I want it to, actually. Is it like this that I want to do then? I pressed the wrong button. That's what I wanted to do. There we go. I need to put it on somewhere where the water will literally cascade off of it. Okay, I understand how to do this now. It's cool. It is. I mean, it's apparently people are just, this is just Minecraft water. I don't care. It's cool how it functions. And I never really do this, so I need to understand how it actually spreads. I think the best one is to just do this, just a single block. Yeah. Water. If you would forgive me for saying another joke that proves my age. Bruce Lee's favorite drink. Water. Is it just path of least resistance? Oh my god, what? What are you oh my god me for? I know I'm a fucking idiot. You don't have to tell me twice. Oh yeah, I'm ruining the environment. Ugh. You're a funny little Rinkomora, excuse me? Like, actually excuse you? Where the fuck is that nickname coming from? Like, Jesus, what you do in your free time is your thing, but damn. Speech to you got fucked by AI. I mean, technically. Repeating fuck does that? What is that word supposed to be? Your tiger uppercutting a desk? Is that is that what you're saying is happening? Oh, together. Oh, fair. There we go. Oh, there we go. That's watering everything. I just want to water everything. This might be a bad idea because this might be where the altar of flame is gonna go for me. I just want to clear up the water though. Oh, I have an idea. Does the altar do anything? Kumari is not in my film dictionary. Why not? Like, actually, why not? If I do this, does this do something different? Okay, it kind of does. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. I don't spell your last name off for a reason. Damn, means I don't treat you like the principal. Alright, that'll work. I'm not the principal. No, I'm the principal. So you just get like, oh, what am I in for, principal Glory? Or Principal Seymour Butts. Sorry, Skinner. Didn't Principal Skinner get fired? Is he still the principal in the Simpsons land? I feel like I remember him getting like actually like fired. Skinner Chalmers still works there. Okay. It's been a while since I've watched Family Guy, Jesus, Simpsons. Midnight, hello, welcome in. How are you doing? Happy Wednesday, happy April. Happy Mario movie release date. They got rehired after. Oh, okay. So I just missed the ending of that episode then. You might find it hard to believe, but the only time I get a chance to watch Simpsons is actually at work. And you might be wondering, how am I watching The Simpsons at work? We put on sports, and a lot of sports happens to be on Fox. So like when baseball or basketball or whatever the fuck is over, they just leave it on Fox, and then 8 p.m. rolls around. And it's Simpsons time, or rather Animation Domination, which is, you know, all the shows. We love ADHD. What do you mean? Oh, Animation Domination HD. Yeah. I so forget that that's the actual abbreviation for it. Oh, just like, am I showing signs of ADHD? What the fuck? Like, I thought you were just going crazy, like, calling me things. I'm like, Jesus Christ. It's crazy how long this has been running for. Yeah, and apparently it's still relatively good. Always keyword relative. I want to put some water somewhere just so I can suck it up easily. It's the best place to put it. Is there any place that could function like a spring here? Only thing I'll call you is mine. W Riz maybe? I don't know. They could put water here just so it's easy to suck up. Make that a little lake. Autistic Riz. Girls like me for my autism swag or whatever, however it goes. Listen, I'm gonna be honest, I don't have Riz. Shocker, VTuber doesn't have Riz. I guess streamer in general, but VTuber specifically. And why are we all here? I guess that's a good point, but that doesn't mean I charmed you all here, did I? Motherfucker, shut up. Why am I watering this? Like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Just watering this entire land? I guess it's just something to do. Oh yeah. Bring life to Pokopia. I really am doing that, yeah. Also, Picunia, you missed it. It wasn't on stream, so like you didn't miss it because it was on stream. When I found Machamp, like he was the most you-coded I would have seen in how he talks. As you might expect from, you know, the muscular Pokemon. And by that I mean he was just being like, he started off talking about every single part of his muscles. He was like triceps, biceps, glutes, and things like that. He was like, and finally abs. And he did like a pose. And then he's like, were you mesmerized by my muscles? Something like that. I can't remember the exact phrasing he used. More water. More water. God, I love that. I figured you would. More. More. That's my Hoshi. What do you mean? Machamp? I thought I was your Hoshi. What the fuck? Damn, I'm nobody's Hoshi then. What the fuck? I should just hang up my model like today. Just give up. I'll never be somebody's Hoshi. Anyway, I'm good for now. I have water there waiting for me. I need to set up more platforms. I have one. Oh, I need more water here. Fuck. They're one of my Yoshis. Aw. That can't be true. I'm nobody's Yoshi. I'm just a nobody. I'm just a little idiot. Where's the next platform? Probably there. Yeah. You're lovely. Shut up. I am not. Shush your mouth. Jesus Christ. I'm being assaulted. Ow. Also, if you're wondering why the tits aren't aiming for my model, remember, my model's mirrored, so it's aiming where my model actually is, but the video feed on stream is mirrored. That's funny. I could fix it. I could just mirror tits and it'd be right. I think it's funnier that way. Also, full spoilers, I wanted to do a fake, I wanted to do a fake 3D model reveal today. And by fake, I mean I have like a customizable model that I've been tinkering with. But I decided not to because it doesn't look as good as I personally want it. Like, yeah, that is. I can still mess with it, but obviously it doesn't look enough like how I want it to be. Oh, welcome back from the ads as well. Thinking about it. probably here is where I'm gonna want the thing to be. Here or there? Here or there? Here or there? These trees are kind of in the way. I was thinking over there, maybe. I think we'll do here. Yeah, we'll do here. That's fine. Again, I'm not big on April Fools. I don't really like the idea of April Fools specifically because the internet's kind of ruined April Fools in the sense that like it went from being silly and funny to like downright mean at times. It's like I honestly never wanna partake in that. I need more blocks. I think I need to make it this wide. I think about this wide is what I want. Let me get one more wide. We'll do that. That works. There's one there, and then we just go straight across, because I don't know exactly how the line of sight works for these things. Just put it there and put some sand in the way. Right here. I know some people have fucked around, and apparently if you place these wrong, they just don't line up. Either that or people are really good at making fake videos. Let me see how this works. You excited for my date night? Yeah, I'm excited to go, I'm excited to go on a quadruple date with 2 plumbers and 2 princesses. But again, yeah, I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this movie, so that works. Dead of protection? Oh, absolutely. I have a baseball bat and everything. Doesn't have nails, unfortunately, but I have a baseball bat. Don't worry. Oh, I'm floating. Is there a sick? What did your speech to text screw up on for that? A sock. On sock? Maybe? Question mark? Maybe? I don't think so. My baseball bats never come with socks. They never come at all, honestly. Sorry, that was probably the stupidest fucking thing ever. I'm sorry, I don't know why. Oh my god. God, that just reminds me of like really stupid jokes like, oh, is this thing doing this? And then like the person's response is, God, I hope not. You know, stock on a bat's a real thing? I don't fucking know. How am I supposed to know this shit? I'm not a baseball player. I know nail bats are a thing. What does a sock have to do with things? I know there's like a cock ring that people put on bats for like added like counterweight. Oh, so like if they're trying to disarm you, they can't because of that, is what you're trying to say. No, I didn't know that. You wanna know why I didn't know that? Because most people just fucking use shotguns these days. They don't care about having a bat. Nobody wants to get up close and personal. Wait, and what's 5 of these? What other fucking places do I need to connect? I didn't think I'm sorry. I don't know why it's the first thing I thought of. You said protection, and I'm like a condom? What? Oh wait, he got my lumber. Anyway. Horny little dragon? No, shut up. I'm not. I guess technically I am horny. Look at my horns. They're big and long. Oh, I need a lot of things to actually power it. It's not just the furnace that I need now that I think about it. Oh, shit. Oh, that fucks me up now that I think about it. Big and long, they work like handlebars. Listen, that's why people become dragon VTubers, or like goat or sheep. Because they're horny, obviously. I need to bring Tink Master over here, hang on. I need to bring Tink Master, I also need to go to Rocky Ridges to get the purple mountain flowers, and I need to find the white elegant? Man, I didn't know that. Didn't know what? Oh. The reason people become those specific animals? Yeah. We're all horny. We just can't, you know, there's no proof. Gotta tell my ace team VTuber that they have horns, so he's an ace. There you go. You just be like, hey, by having horns, you are officially not ace. I mean, they could also have horns to be like a mount, like riding, like, you know, like, I don't want to continue the sentence. I was gonna say like riding, like, yeah, of course. Rocky Ridges is this way. Oh wait, no, I'm gonna go to the Skylands first. Oh, I don't care. So I'm a mount then? I mean, my dragon form should be, right? I still am honestly looking. Can I give you a test ride? Listen, I'm not a 2002 Honda Civic. You cannot take me for a test ride before you decide if you like it or not, okay? Why did I choose 2002 Honda Civic? Because it is, from what I remember, the most carjacked car in existence. I think 2002, maybe 2000. Either way, the Honda Civic is one of the most carjacked cars. It's just a popular car. I'd like it too. I like how it looks. I'll pay for the right vote. Give it a try. Sure, fine. Wait, I went the wrong way. I was trying to go to the fucking Skylands. God, not to the beach. This is what I get for essentially not paying attention and just rambling. What was I gonna say? I forgot to say. I'm honestly still looking for an artist that can do like furified designs, if you want to think of it that way. Like turning my character into an actual dragonkin, or an actual dragon, one of the two. I think I would prefer dragonkin because I want to have the titties. Blech. But I still don't really have luck for that. And I know people suggested Picardo. I honestly didn't find anything. many tomatoes do I have? I can take more. No. Scaly teeth is good. Like, I'm not gonna say I'm a furry because I don't think I am, right? Because like there's a lot of people that are like, I'm not a furry, but they are actually furries. I would not consider myself a furry, but I would absolutely say that I would love to get myself drawn as a furry because I think it's actually really cool when people have multiple. By the way, Blazikins here. Finally, they showed up. I think it's cool when people have multiple forms like that. Like, oh, I have, like if it's a demon, oh, I have my normal demon form. I have my full demon form, right? And it's just like them, but like scarier, edgier, cooler, whatever you want to call it. I think that's cool. Plus, I think like Dragonkin and like Scalies are actually kind of really hot. Like if I was a furry, I'd absolutely be in the Scalies. Anthrodons can be dope. I think a lot of it also has to do because I follow a handful of. Oh, Big Bear, hi. Welcome in. We're just talking about art and furries and Scalies just because I'm debating getting my model drawn in a furified / scalified fashion. Welcome in. How are you doing? Happy Wednesday. It's because I follow an artist that does a lot of like anthropomorphized characters. They do focus on Pokemon, so like a lot of what they do is like it's an anthro. What's the weird one? What's a good one that's a Pokemon that's not already anthropomorphized? What is a good one? Like a Rapidash or a Primarina, right? Like things that are absolutely just animals in the Pokemon world, but they draw them as like beautiful women. And I don't mean like, what do they call them? Gajinkas? Forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. I'm not thinking of that. I'm thinking of like, no, they're just busty ass women that just happen to have the features of an animal. What's got me into the idea, because I want something like that where it's like very much the design is there, but it's very much just hey, it's you know, it's the character but with scales or whatever. But anyway, Big Bear, hope you're doing well. Welcome in. Happy April. No April Fool's Day here, except my model's actually flipped, so whatever you see, honestly, take a screenshot, hit the mirror horizontal button, and that's what my model normally looks like. Here, I can do it while we load into the next area. We got the flip. We got the flip. Look at me. I'm fucking teleporting. I'm instant transmissioning. It's fucking Vegito against Majin Buu, Ultimate Gohan absorbed. I'm just teleporting up in here. You can't hit me. I will only fight you with my legs. What the hell was I building? Why was I coming here again? Does anybody remember why I was coming to the Skylands? Not transition, transmission. I know that's probably speech to text getting you. Why was I coming to the Skylands? Does anybody remember why I was coming to the Skylands? Why was I coming here? I'm bad to it. I mean, if you're using speech to text, I understand. I'm trying to think, what the fuck was I gonna come here for? Tinkmaster. also give me some more cement. Thank you. And yes, I like saying cement like it's semen with a T, because it literally is semen with a T. What's up, Pupitar? I want to say thank you for the comments being nice to me. Aw, I like how he's so polite, because he's like, he's a closed off thing, right? Because he's a pupa, so like it makes sense for him to be like very shy and stuff. Where is my buddy Tankmaster? Wait, where's the sparkles? I can hear him. There. I do this because usually, oh, neon flooring, exactly what I actually wanted. Because usually these things give you recipes for like floors or walls, sometimes like a toy or something. Where is the Tankmaster? Is he just hanging out? Yeah, he's just hanging out up there. So is this plus what else would I want to do? Guys, I also have a very big dilemma. Can you guys answer a question for me? What snack should I get at the movies today? What's your go-to snack? Whether it be candy or popcorn or something. Oh, ooh. I like how you guys both essentially said the same thing. Just one of you adds popcorn, one of you doesn't. Oh wait, I gotta go to the wasteland, which is this way. Like, the problem is I'm on a diet, so like I'm literally trying not to eat at night. Like, literally past this exact hour is when I don't want to eat anymore, because that's just how my intermittent fasting timer is. But I feel like today I'm just gonna break that, because it's the movies. You gotta splurge a little bit when you go to the movies. Like popcorn, but less butter. I think the popcorn they give me at my local theater, it's not unsalted or unbuttered. I think it's just what it is, and I don't put like extra stuff, because you know they always have like extra stuff on the side. But I never get anything. I never get like jalapenos like some people do. Like who the fuck puts jalapenos on popcorn? Like what the fuck? Like I just don't get it. Called milk duds. It's milk duds. Same thing. I understand what you meant. Oh yeah, I was looking for the thing too. Is there a control panel down here? It does not look like there is. Shit, where do I get one then? You know what? I'm actually gonna Google that right now, so I can potentially do it tonight and just have it ready. Cerebi. What's it called again? Let me double check. I pressed the wrong button. I tried to press the plus button, not the switch. The switch home button. He gave me habitat info. Where is it? Should be in just base wasteland area, right here-ish. Oh, this is the beach. There it is. It is called control unit. Literally just called it control unit. I'll read your guys' message in a second. Give me a bit. I'm literally on Google right now, on Cerebi, figuring out where to get a fucking control unit. The wasteland and the Skylands. Oh shit. Oh, and the power plant kit gives you it. Okay. Where in the Skylands would it be? Where is it? It's I can see the map. No, my capture card's frozen. Oh god, I have to reset it because the audio broke. I give you permission to cheat. Thank you, question mark? I don't think I needed permission from anybody to cheat, but thank you. That sounds very inappropriate, sorry. It's not like we're dating or anything, ooh woo. Oh. Gotcha. I understand where it is. Also, I think I understand why I'm lagging. It was lagging when I was using Google. Oh god. Okay, I found out where it is. It's in here. It's not in this exact area. Where am I on the map? I'm here. I think they said it's around here, actually. Could it be up? Is that what's going on? Let me climb up. Maybe that's easier for me. Like, it says I can just steal it from the actual, like the building that I have, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to take things from the building. That's not what I want, but that's fine. Hang on, exactly where? Because it just didn't actually give me an image. It just told me where it would be. Excuse me. Oh, also the fucking Comic Sans. Anytime I go back to my goddamn Twitch, like, homepage, it really pisses me off. Oh my god, is this a fucking dresser? Oh my god, I fucking need this. Oh my god, this fucking place has everything I need. Apparently one of these buildings has a control unit, so time to go exploring. What? These aren't open? There. Right here. We found it. Alright. Cool. So we got that and we have the dresser, so now we can go back to the ridges and we can go to the ridges and set up Minchino's home, and we can go back to the wasteland and set up Magneton's home. where was I going? Mauve Town. Actually, I can't fly because they can't fly. Come on. Come on, Tinkaton. Follow me this way, please. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Sorry, I actually don't know if I have to make them follow me or if just like going to the transition will bring them with me, like with the lift. But I'm walking them like a dog. Anyway. Hope you guys are having a good night, by the way. Now that it's officially night for most people. Evening for me, but nighttime. Thanks for being here, even though I streamed a lot earlier. Appreciate it a lot. The reason I brought them is because I actually want to make the Pokemon Center, and usually these things take an entire day. But by having Tinkaton here, it max time becomes at 1 hour. That's not what I wanted. Oh, ad break. We put you there. We need Munchlax for Bulldoze. What do I need? Munchlax for Bulldoze. And Caesar for Chop. Got it. Where's Munchlax at? Cool, so now I just need any 5. I will keep Magby just because I know they like to burn things for me. We do this. Let's bring Mime Jr. Let's put this little baby to work. And 2 more. I can do Machop. Machop's only good for building. I'll keep Leafeon because I might need to grow. Let's bring a little squirrel over. Squirrel. Cool. In 1 hour, this will be ready. Besides that, what was we doing after this? Setting up Magnemite, and then we go to the ridges and we'll set up Minchino. Okay. Now, where should I set Magnemite up for? Where should I set up Magnemite, actually? I think I'll go up there for Magnemite, actually. I feel like Magnemite would like an unimpeded aerial view. Will allow him to get static electricity better, maybe? I don't know. I keep getting bullshit fossils. Where? Here, I guess? Yeah, I'll just do it. Actually, no, that's a little too close to the water. We'll do it here. We'll give him a nice little home with the cash register. I don't know why. Feels right. So we got that. I need jumbled cords, which I know I have them somewhere. What else was it? And these things need to actually have power as well. A drum, which is easy. Street lights, also easy. Do I have a drum just on me, I think? I do not. What about a street light? I do have a street light. It needs to be powered on, and I need cords, and I need... I already forgot what I was saying. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Metal drum, that's what it was, Jesus Christ. I want to put some things away, actually. Fossils, I guess? You put this away. Put that away. Keep those. We'll take the music to the ridges when I go there. Ba-ba-ba-bum. Put that away. And now I need to make a metal drum and grab some jumbled cords. I can make them myself too, actually. Metal drum. Did I pass it? I think I passed it. Can I not make metal drums? I swear to God I can make them. Did I just miss it? I guess I'm thinking of garbage cans. Not metal drums. Shit. Well, do I have them on me then? Alright, I got one. Where'd it go? Are there cords in here too? There is not. Wait. I like how I have 2 different stacks of metal drums. Oh, we did, of course. Perfect. Yo, what's up, Jumpliff? Hello. The quiz? Sure, what's up? What's Molly's favorite thing? Exercise, I'm assuming. Yes. Thanks for the carrot. Oh yeah, I gotta step on this too, because it's golden. Do that. Put that there. We're gonna close off this entire entrance, but that's fine. Now I need electricity. Which, where's my nearest generator? I know I have one somewhere here. Here. Oh, here. It's even closer. Perfect. Wait, what? Why didn't this work? Street light. Doing a jump across metal drum. Oh, it's not in order? Is that why? Is that actually the reason? Like, does it have to be here? God damn it, it fucking does. Okay, so now we go back to Magnemite. And tell him, hey, your home's ready. Hi-ya. Ow. Hello. What can I do? Oh, I have an idea. Do you have interest in Magnet Rise? Ooh. I will let you float around. This is very fun. You must try. Final ability. Transform. Oh, that's actually really cute. That's a really cute icon, actually. Hang on. Screenshot. Ow, hang on. I gotta stretch my back. Ah. Okay. Alright, what does Magnet Rise do? Besides let me float. Like, actually fly. Your floating is skillful. Continue to practice, you will master Magnet Rise. Magnet Rise lets you move while you hover in the air. Float up or down, pressing L or R. Okay. Select an item in your bag, press A to spit it out. For certain items, you can adjust the number of items you spit at once, pressing up and redirect where you spit and raising down. If you press below, you have to replacement mode, which allows you to swap what you want to spit out with what's— oh my god, no wonder people are able to build so much fucking shit. You can break what's in front of you alive. The broken item is stored in your bag. If you press and hold the button to break something, you store in your body so you can spit it out whole. Oh, that's how people are just like building such giant fucking things. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. Can you power this up though? Because I've seen people able to do like a 3x3 square. It's crazy. That's cool. Does it use energy just by flying, or is it by using the ability? Oh, okay, it's in general. Good to know. Cool. So we have everything now. Ridges. Or Minchino. So it is kind of weird that I was thinking it's Magneton the game. The thing is Magnemite. Post game, of course. Once I set this up, I think I'll be done for tonight and just relax before the movie. I think that's what I'll do. We'll set up Minchino's habitat and then we'll be done. There's still not time for the movie, but I want to relax a little bit before I go. Where's my fucking dresser? Where is it? There you are. Boom! Minchino, or Chinchino, sorry, I always mix the two up for some reason. I guess because their names are so similar. Some of the reviews are off-putting. I guarantee most of the reviews were people that know jack shit about Mario complaining about how the movie was probably not paced well, probably filled with references that they don't understand, so they felt like it ruined things. Oh, a new emote. I learned how to nod. Nice. Hope you enjoyed the movie. Thanks. Oh, nothing else new. I'll do my best to enjoy it. I'll let you guys know all about it tomorrow. Anything else? Shit, I just realized I need to look for... I have these scrolls that I need, and I don't know where I put them, I'm gonna be honest. Oh my god. Not, like, in general, like, in the game. There's a critic, so I take the reviews. Yeah, I'm never gonna trust the reviews on a video game movie of all things. Animated movies are one thing, but video game movies, I will never trust them on. Because again, video game movies are not for them. Video game movies are for the fans. Now, that doesn't mean the movies can't be good. I'm just saying that if critics thinks it sucks, that doesn't necessarily mean that the people that are fans that are going are gonna hate it. And if people think it sucks, I don't know. I'll still enjoy it probably. Listen, I get to see my girl Rosalina on a big ass fucking on a big screen. I'm gonna enjoy it. Alrighty. Let's go back over here. I do need to reset. I need to unflip myself because I'm not gonna be in the right position. So. Whoop. I'm back. I am no longer flipped. What was I gonna say? Yeah. Put the music back on. I will say, thanks for being here, guys. I'm sorry that it's kind of short, and I'm sorry that it's not at the same time that I usually stream. I have some things I want to say, but I'll probably wait till Thursday to say them. Just about stuff in general, but we'll see. We'll wait. I'll wait for it. Anyway. I'm not getting ready anybody. I'm just gonna stop streaming, go relax, maybe eat a quick snack before I go to the movie, so I don't feel tempted to eat like everything on the fucking menu. Because apparently my theater has what's the word, upgraded their menu in the last couple months since I've gone, and now they have like what bigger theaters have with like full on meals like hot dogs and pizza and things like that, you know. So I want to make sure I actually eat something, that way I'm not tempted to eat a full ass meal during the movie. Like I don't mind a snack like a bag of popcorn or like a bag of candy or something, like that's fine, that's what you go to the movies for. But I don't want to be tempted to eat like a whole fucking personal pizza. I feel like that will actually ruin my diet more than like a one snack for one day would be. Thanks for the stream. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with Donkey Kong 64. And yeah, I'll let you guys know more about just what's going on with my brain over the last couple of months. Just because, I don't know, I feel like saying it kind of thing, you know? It's one of those, it's better to bring it up than not, you know? Well, anyway, I'm gonna get off, get a snack, and then go to the movies, and I'll probably catch you guys on Discord. I'll probably be like, I'm back, it's fucking great, or it was okay, or I'm like, and then I'll tell you guys about it tomorrow kind of deal. But yeah. Okay, you guys have a good night, okay? Enjoy your Wednesday night, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Yeah, bye. Thank you.